Okay, hi, this is Kimberly Miller again, and here I am with my Majestic e-spinner. I am going to begin spinning a different fiber today. This is a merino alpaca blend that I would like to spin into a nice, probably 2-ply. We'll see how it behaves as we spin. Today I'm going to be using the battery pack with the spinner instead of the 110, and I've got the battery all charged up and ready to go. I also have a new device on the bobbin that I haven't had before that I'm interested in seeing how this works. It's basically just this little C-clip. Let's see if I can slide it from here. It's a little C-clip that you pop onto the bobbin. Real simple. Has a little hole in the top, and you can set up your leader through that instead of having to tie it onto the bobbin. We're going to give it a try today and see how it works. Get the new feature. So we're all set up. I've got a leader on here. This is also a new setup here, so I'm going to have to play with the tension a little bit to see where my happy spot is between the tension and the speed, and then we will see what the fiber gives us. So let's take a look. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and unwind a little bit of this ball to give me something to start with. And then I like to actually tie the leader to the fluff first. Just less headache as far as pulling off. Okay, so I've got my power on the regulator. I'm going to turn the power on to the battery now. You can see, I think at the bottom of the battery there's 5 little green lights that are lit up. That means that the battery is fully charged and ready to go and activated. So let's start off a bit slow here. I'm going to turn my level winder system on. There's a switch up here, and it makes the yarn guide, slide back and forth on the arm. I'm going to press the foot pedal to engage the power. Whoops. Well, I didn't have enough tension on the fiber. Wasn't paying enough attention to that. So, however, it looks like that clip works well as far as holding the leader on there nicely. Let's see. Go ahead and shut my level winder off for a moment while I fix my simple mistake here. Probably would have been better if I had waited until the level winder had come back over here so that it was basically parallel with the leader clamp first. So I will do that next time. We'll let it slide back. So we run the leader through the yarn guide on the level winder and the stationary guide, and then we have, what did I do with my hook? So we have this cute little orifice hook, and we can slide it through here so that it's visible in that big gap there for the orifice. And I can't see the yarn at all, so I'm working by feel completely here. I'm sitting kind of low. And you just tuck it around like that and pull it through. It's really nice. Okay, so we're going to try this again. And I think I'm going to lessen my tension because it really pulled up on the yarn. So let's take it out almost all the way. You can see here that this is the tension. And you can pull it out, and then you can adjust the nut. Basically, this is kind of like a nut right here, and it goes up and down on the treads on the bolt. I'm going to twist it to the left, and that's going to loosen it up quite a bit. We'll start with that, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to allow you can see that this is coming back this way, so I'm going to allow that to come this way a bit before I engage the motor again to engage the flyer. And let's slow the speed down just a little bit. You can see it allows my leader to be a little bit longer, so it gives me a little more room to adjust things before the yarn really starts getting taken out. Okay, I'm going to press foot pedal and engage everything here. I'm going to turn up the speed. Righty-tighty, just a little bit on the tension, and now we're starting to get a little bit of uptake. A little more on the tension. You can see that we're getting some twist into the fiber now, and there's a bit of uptake, so I'll be adjusting things a bit more, a little more tension, righty-tighty. So I have not worked with this blend, this fiber before. My friend Nick White dyed this beautiful, colorful fiber, and this is the first that I've had from him, the first of the fiber that I've gotten from him that I've spun, I believe. So it's going to take me a little bit to kind of get the feel for the fiber as well, what it wants to do. I ordinarily spin pretty thin, so I'm trying to spin this a little bit heavier so that the color is a little more obvious. Sometimes when you spin colorful fiber real thin, it can be a little difficult for the color to really show itself. So I'm going to spin it just a little heavier than I usually do, and then I'll decide after I've spun both bumps if I want to do a 2-ply or if I'm going to chain ply. Chain ply is going to allow the striping to be more distinct, and the yarn will be a bit rounder. And it's great, round yarn like that is great for like cables, but colored yarn that has a lot of, color action going on there is not generally real ideal for texture work like cable or cabling. So I may stick with 3-ply for striping if I wanted, or if I wanted a little less obvious striping, then I could do the 2-ply as long as I'm getting as heavy of a fiber or a yarn that I'd like for the project that I think the fiber would be suitable for it. I'm kind of thinking I only have 4 ounces of this, so if I don't ply it with a different fiber, I might use it for like maybe making a hat, depending on how soft the yarn ends up being, or possibly a set of mittens or gloves. So as you can see on the bobbin, the level winder is doing a beautiful job of winding this yarn on nice and evenly, and I'm still kind of going a bit slower than I might later go with the handling of the fiber, just because I'm still kind of getting it felt out. It's not real slick, it's a little bit sticky, but pre-drafting definitely helps with this. But the fibers are kind of long and they're very aligned, so it makes for a roving that can be a little tricky too. If there's too much pull, it could slip like it did initially, and I'd lose it and just get pulled right up into the bobbin. So once I get the feel for how everything is working, I could probably just sit back and relax and spin with this little machine for hours without needing to stop. Maybe watch a movie later with my husband while I'm spinning. The machine is very quiet, nice and nice and steady. There's no rattle or rock. With my Traveler, my wooden spinning wheel, she takes a lot of oil to keep everything running relatively smoothly, and even well oiled, she still knocks and rattles once in a while a little bit, especially if I can't keep the bobbin even. That's another great thing about the level winder. With keeping the bobbin wound nice and evenly, it really reduces the chances of things becoming unbalanced, so that, you know, things might start knocking around or jumping around, especially at higher speeds. This is going to be a really pretty fiber. If I can, I might try to see if I could maybe find a silk with comparable colors and do the second strand, or maybe even a third strand in silk, and still do a 3-ply, but do 2 plies of this, because I have a second bump in my basket over there. And then do a 3rd ply with maybe silk to kind of make the colors pop. I'm going to stop for a second so I can move my bump around. So overall, this feels like it's going to be a very nice spin. I'll probably eventually be up on the speed just a little bit and the uptake as I'm feeling this out. The colors on this are just delightful. I'm not usually a bright colored fiber person. I like my subtle and my natural colors, but I've noticed recently I've gained a more appreciation for some of the brighter colors and more eccentric colors. Maybe someday I can get myself to spinning some art yarn, but right now I tend to be pretty stubborn about being consistent and even as possible. I do like how this is spinning up though. It's really turning up very nicely. And the e-spinner is just making it a delight to spin now that I have a feel for how it's behaving and how the spinner wants to work with it. And one of the things that I really like about this spinner, especially with the foot pedal, particularly about the foot pedal, is that it's so easy to just use my foot to do some, you know, quick little pauses as I'm spinning here, so that I can make adjustments that I need to make, you know, like you can see I'm doing with my bump as I use up the fiber. I do have a tendency to forget that the winder, the level winder, is running sometimes, so I have to stay conscious that I don't leave the flyer stopped for too long, because we want that fiber winding on, or the yarn winding on, nice and even as possible. Fortunately, the winder moves slow enough that it gives me a few moments to pause if I need to without, you know, it becoming too tricky. Worst case scenario, I can wait it out, you know, for the winder guide to come back the direction, you know, come back to basically the location where I stopped if I need to. Overall though, with this being my first real experience with an e-wheel and with a lever winder system both, I'm very thrilled with this setup. I can see myself spinning exclusively on this pretty darn consistently. Let's take a look at how that's looking real quick, how that fiber's putting it. Isn't that beautiful? This goes from side end to end, really nice and even. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that if you decide to work with this e-spinner, even if you're a beginner or experienced, either way, I think that this little machine is absolutely wonderful to work with, and you won't be disappointed with it. Okay, have a good evening. Thank you.